Hello and welcome to this video. Today we're very privileged to have my dear friend Max Tang onto the channel to talk about his experience majoring in computer science and mathematics at Cornell University. Max is a second-year undergraduate student at Cornell University, and it will be a great experience for you to learn from what it is like studying at one of US best universities. So to get started, to people who haven't watched our previous discussion together, who are you and what was your background in high school?
Hi, I'm Max. I'm studying computer science and math at Cornell University. And in high school, I went to Diocesan Boys School and did the International Baccalaureate in Hong Kong.
What were some of the subjects that you did during your IB?
I did economics, chemistry, and mathematics analysis and approaches, MAA higher level. And I did biology, English, language and literature, and Chinese B standard level.
Ooh, that seems like quite a nice mix of different activities and different subjects. With such a big mix of STEM and humanities, what made you decide to do computer science and mathematics?
I decided to do computer science because it is basically a path that opens up to many other paths, right? Like after computer science, I can like start a startup. I can like be a finance bro. I can like work at tech firms such as like Google. And what made me do math is actually um, honestly I've always been like interested in math through high school, but I was always interested in the engineering aspect of math, right? Like calculating, because that's the only option which we were exposed in high school. But then when I came to university, I took the math courses. I mean, there are two versions of math courses: the arts and sciences one, which I am currently taking, and the engineering one, which focuses on calculation. And I took the arts and sciences one because I have no idea why. Engineering one is much more easier, but somehow I ended up at the arts and sciences one. But it is kind of rewarding because it focuses on like proofs and like understanding the mathematical concepts instead of just using them to calculate um and like do problem solving. So yeah, I would say um I'm choosing to major in math because it really trains me how to think and how to think like inductively, or just how to like articulate abstract concepts and put it in paper.
Hmm. As an international student, I mean, we grew up together in Hong Kong. I mean, I've known Max since we were both like 6. So we've seen each other grow up. But as an international student, how did you find that tradition or that transition to the US and into Cornell?
I would say it is very harsh but rewarding at the same time, because I grew up in a local school in Hong Kong, DBS. Well, Joshua kind of transferred out after 6 years, but I stayed
Too
on.
scared.
But yeah, like I stayed on, and I like like while Joshua was speaking, I think English predominantly at his international school, I continued to speak Cantonese for another 6 years. So I would say like the language barrier is no joke at the United States, because I feel like in UK, I have a lot of friends who are studying in UK right now, including Joshua, and they told me that they're like the Hong Kong population there is is like significant, so they can honestly get away with like not knowing how to speak English at all at some cases. But I think at Cornell they accept like 12 Hong Kong students every year, and like half of them doesn't even know what Cantonese is. So because like yeah, they're international school students. So yeah, so I'm forced to speak English to everyone, which is harsh at first because I don't really. Well, of course, like I know how to speak English, but the only occasions I spoke English in Hong Kong is like during the English assessments, the oral assessments, right? So yeah, I have to like force myself to be more open, speak more English. Like even though I may have an accent, I still want to like go get over it, like be part of conversations. So yeah, that's been very harsh. But I would say after a year of like forcing myself to speak English, I would say my English improved a lot. I can like communicate well with people here, and that has been pretty rewarding.
Hmm.
Yeah.
What are 3 things which surprised you positively when you got to Cornell?
You mean like three surprises?
Yeah, like things that you just didn't expect happening. Because I mean, when I went to Oxford, right, I was expecting to be like everyone was studying and reading all the time, and one thing which surprised me a lot was seeing one of my good friends like drinking from like midday to midnight, like on a very frequent basis, and I was like, this happens at Oxford. Like, what are some ways in which you were surprised? I guess in the same way.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you. Yeah. So I would say honestly, like, mm, I would say the environment, because I remember when I was like first semester freshman, walking through the arts quad, which is like a very beautiful like quad filled with like trees, very beautiful buildings. Like I felt very privileged to be studying here, because I've never seen anything like this beautiful before. Um, so I would say like the the architectural beauty and strong academic vibe there is one thing that surprised me. And the other thing that surprised me is, yeah, probably like how, as you said, like how people here play hard and work hard. Like they can go clubbing, or like they can go to parties every Wednesday and like Friday, Saturday, and they can still be on top of their work, which is crazy. And they still have, and they also have a lot of extracurriculars on their side. So yeah, like it surprised me how people work hard, play hard. Um, yeah, and the last thing that surprised me is, um, I would say how free I am, because in high school I couldn't really skip lectures, but in university I would say like sometimes when I'm busy or like when I'm not feeling well, I can just skip it. But of
Mm.
course, like don't skip lecture, kids. Like that's crazy. But yeah, yeah, like actually don't skip lectures. That is a very bad thing I did last semester.
Yes, we'll talk a bit more about your lectures in a bit, but I mean, before I ask the inverse about three things which surprise you negatively, I do have a question. Has it really sunk in that you're actually at Cornell? Because sometimes I walk around Oxford, right? Like, I mean, my schedule is absolutely jam packed, and I basically have almost no time to actually think like as Josh Yen the person. I'm always thinking as Josh Yen the student, Josh Yen the founder of Logos Education, and just random Josh Yen the philosophy for all YouTuber. But I never really think as Josh Yen the person. And on occasions, I'll be walking through university parks at Oxford or walking through Oxford, and I'll suddenly look around and I'm like, damn, I'm actually at Oxford. Like that's crazy. Do you ever have that feeling as well? You're like, how did I manage to get into Cornell? How did that young boy from Hong Kong who was playing basketball in Kowloon Zai Park get into Cornell? Do you feel that?
Yeah, honestly, I totally feel that. But like, I would say I feel that the strongest when I was like first semester freshman.
Mm,
Like, yeah, like I told you right. I was just walking down the art school. I was like, bro, like how the hell did I get into this? It's crazy. Because like the thing about me is like, I mean, I'm like above. I mean, my grades are like decent in high
mm.
school, but like they aren't like out of like maybe 250 people there, like I wasn't like top five there. So like I was just I don't know, I was just I just felt very privileged, so to say. I felt very happy to be there.
Yes, no, definitely, and it's a beautiful feeling to have, I guess. Sometimes, I mean, I guess it brings back a lot of nostalgia, but it's a very sweet feeling to have. But I mean, I suppose that was a bit of an emotional tangent that I just kind of came into my mind. What are three things which surprised you, perhaps in a negative way, when you got to Cornell? Was there anything which stood out? I mean, it doesn't have to be three, but were there anything which just stood out to you? Like, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, so I would say how pre-professional this college is.
Mm,
So one thing about Cornell is, I mean, it's an Ivy League, so like most people here have daddy's money, so to say.
mm,
So they how to say it? Like I mean, of course, getting into Cornell is very hard, right? But to get into these clubs at Cornell, it is another level.
mm.
So there are these finance clubs at Cornell, which you have to maybe coffee chat people to get into. And I mean, after coffee chatting, you'd have to like do a first round interview or a round robin case interview and like a behavioral interview and a technical interview, stuff like that. So like sometimes I just think like, bro, like you're just maybe a year older than me. Like sometimes the person interviewing me is like the same age as me. So it's like, what gives you the right to interview me? So I don't know, but like that is one thing that kind of disappoints me is that like even though at even though in colleges that are so hard to get into like Cornell, you'd have to work even harder to access the opportunities in there. So that is one thing that disappoints me. And the other thing that disappoints me is how like the weather. I mean, the weather is honestly, well, it is definitely a lot worse than Hong Kong because Hong Kong is always sunny. But I would say like the summer here is very nice, but like the summer only lasts for like 2 months, like at least when I was in school, right?
Mm,
August to early October. And I mean, as of right now, it is like October 19th, and we have to turn on the heater already.
mm,
So, yeah, it will get cold here, and like seasonal depression is a thing.
mm,
So, that will disappoint like other
yeah,
Cornellians and me as well. So,
definitely.
and the last thing that disappoints me is, uh, oh yeah, like maybe it's just related to the first point, but like how much clout people have. I mean, of course, there are a lot of like nice people here, but there are also people who think that um they are like above everyone because they got into this club and yeah. So yeah, like sometimes people's ego is just too big to handle, so to say.
Mm, yes. No, too egotistical to handle. I mean, that's something which I guess occurs in some sense around Oxford as well, I guess. And I suppose it's kind of the downside of being at such a prestigious university. You do have that kind of, you have a group of highly successful, highly driven, and highly egotistical people who think they know everything and can do everything. I mean, of course, not everyone's like that, but it is one of those traits of highly successful people, I guess, that does, I guess, have the downside of that experience. Now, perhaps let's turn a bit more to studying or majoring in computer science and math in particular. What is the workload like for you at Cornell University?
Honestly, I would say if you go to lectures, it's like no problem at all. Uh, so I'm a sophomore, so like during my freshman year, I took like my first semester was like kind of chill, right? Because like as my cousin told me, like getting used to America is basically like a 4 credit class. So I didn't really take a lot of credits first semester, so it's chill. But second semester I took 3 very hard STEM courses, and at sometimes it was unbearable, but then the the tutorial system here is it's actually pretty good. So for math they have this thing called uh, like on top of office hours, which you can like go there and like ask your teaching assistants or professor how to do homeworks. They also have this thing called the Math Help Center, which opens at like 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. every day of the week. So if you have any questions there, you can go there and like get your problem solved. And I think this proved very useful for me because like sometimes like I just have a question and there isn't any office hours available, so I just go to the Math Help Center and get things solved. So I would say like the workload is reasonable if you put effort in it. Like one thing I learned the hard way is, in high school maybe you can like grind the last minute and use maybe like just a bit of cleverness to get out of it. But at college you can't do that. At least in CS, I know some very smart people and they still have to like put in the effort in studying. Of course, like maybe they study like 5 hours instead of studying 10 hours, but they still have to study. And that's the thing about Cornell. Like, there's no wiggling out and using your small cleverness to get out of things that you have to put the effort in. But of course, like if you put effort in, it will be rewarding and you will learn a lot, and
Mm.
everything will be manageable.
That's something which is very true since I've gotten into Oxford as well, is precisely that idea that you have to stay on top of things and you have to put the hard work in. There is no way in which you could like wiggle your way out of writing a 2,000 word essay or doing the reading for a 2,000 word essay like that. You either have done the work hard or you haven't done the work at all. But it's very important to stay on top of things, and that's something I definitely agree with you. Perhaps moving on and somewhat related, what's the day in the life like for you? Like, what do you do in the morning, afternoon, and dinner, and how's your sleep schedule like?
Um, so I would say let's start with a good day first, like a
Mm,
productive day.
yes.
sometimes when I'm productive. I mean, this semester I'm actually taking a lot less courses. So I would wake up at around like 10. Yeah, I would wake up around 10, and I would like just maybe brush my teeth. I'll go down to have lunch, and after lunch, my first lecture is usually at 12:20. So I go to my first lecture, and sometimes I meet up with friends and do some homework. And yeah, and sometimes I go to office hours depending on the day, and I would go back to the house at around 6 p.m. And it actually depends on the day, because like sometimes I have G-body meetings at 5, and sometimes I have to go to this thing called startup hours, which is like an entrepreneurship event every week at Cornell at 7:30. And yeah, like usually I study between like 2 p.m. to 6 p.m., and I come back to the house around 7 p.m. I eat dinner, and sometimes I play a bit of like pool with the guys in the house, or I play poker, or like if everyone's working, I just go back to my room and work. Um, yeah. So, and sometimes I would also hit the gym at 9 p.m. with my friends. But yeah. Oh, yeah, the thing is, like, I don't think there's a day in the life at Cornell. Like every day
Mm,
is different, so
yeah.
like it's kind of hard to generalize it. Yeah.
Definitely. So you're one of those evening gym goers type of person then, not like morning gym bros.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah.
Well, that's definitely part of it. Well, it's been great talking to you so far, and I'm sure people have been enjoying this interview. Well, which leads on to the point which I always do halfway through an interview, which is, well, if you're enjoying this interview so far, make sure to like and subscribe. It means a lot to me, and it really helps this channel reach more people. We want to reach everyone around the world with affordable and accessible college counseling and consulting advice. And by, well, liking and subscribing, we know that you're enjoying these videos and that we can continue to get students at top universities like Max and like Eden from the last few episodes onto the channel to ask them about their college application process. Furthermore, I'd like to introduce you to two books that I've recently published, the US College Guide and the UCAS Bible. These two books have the information which has helped students get into the top universities around the world, like Ivy Leagues, like Oxbridge, like UCLA, Berkeley, and all those top universities. So if you're interested in studying at those top universities and really don't know where to start, these are amazing guides for you. Links to them will be in the description below. You can get either PDF copies at the Logos Education website, or you can get a paperback like these, really beautiful quality, from Amazon as well. So with that in mind, let's carry on with the interview and talk a bit more about your lectures. How do you learn in Cornell? Is it purely a lecture-based system, or are there some tutorials, group lessons, seminars? What's the way in which you learn material at Cornell?
I would say it really depends how good your professors. Like, of course, like all professors at Cornell are very good, like they're very accomplished. But there are some instances where you just don't learn anything in the lecture. I mean, like for real, like for example, like I'm not gonna name the course, okay, but like in one course I'm taking right now, in the first 2 weeks, the lecture hall is packed. Like you have to actually like arrive to the lecture hall like 5 minutes earlier or 10 minutes to find a space. But like after 2 weeks, the lecture hall is half full, and I'm pretty sure like I'm pretty sure half of the class didn't disenroll from the class. So like they're still on a roster somewhere, but they just stopped showing up to lecture. But yeah, this shows that like sometimes lectures are good, but it isn't everything. So I feel like how I learn is usually by going to discussions. So like how computer science classes work is that there's a lecture where you learn all the concepts, and there's the discussion where you implement the concepts. Like you do these small coding questions. Um, yeah, so like I would say I learn more in discussions, and also but I feel like I learned the most in homeworks. So like in my course there's like tri-weekly or bi-weekly homeworks assignments, which take a long time to do. They're usually like maybe you have to code this. Oh, I forgot what's the last assignment. Oh yeah, like the last assignment we have to use like a functional programming language to code uh LLM, like the I actually forgot the whole name for it, but it's basically a language processing model, like something for machine learning. So like we have to code it, and it was pretty rewarding. I learned a lot from it. Um, so yeah, I would say for computer science, you learn the most by doing assignments. And next it would be like discussions, and the least it would be lectures. And for math, I would say for math, lectures are actually more important because it is a very conceptual thing. So like actually I tried not going to lecture and just reading text, but it worked for a while, but it didn't work when the concepts get harder.
Mm.
So yeah, the so I would say for mathematics, lectures are important, and after lectures, there's no discussions for my class, so like you would just go home and do the homework and go to math help center for sometimes, like for help sometimes. But yeah, I would say lectures are the most it's like the best way to learn, and after lectures like doing homework and actually putting effort in it. Like of course, like I know math GBT or chat GBT is the thing right now, and it actually helps. But like one thing I would do is just basically like read the question first. If I don't know how to do the question, I'll like plug it in ChatGPT, and I'll just look at the first few lines, or maybe the first line of ChatGPT, and maybe it'll give me some hints. And after I get the hints, I'll do it on my own. If I don't get it, I'll continue looking at the second line and third line or fourth line, you know. So that's how I do it. But yeah.
So that's a really brilliant way into understanding how you learn at Cornell. Perhaps to end off this interview, we have two questions that I ask all the guests. Firstly, what is the craziest thing which has happened to you since you've arrived in Cornell? Our last story, just to give you some concept, was a story with Eden about how his bike got stolen out of his college, and his AirTag found within the bike was found in a swamp in the middle of downtown Oxford. So, do you have a similar exciting story, or what was the craziest thing which has happened to you?
Damn. Well, I would say that's a very hard story to top, but let me think. Well, like one thing off my mind is like there's this article I think published by Cornell Daily Sun, which lists 160 things you have to do at Cornell before you graduate. And and one of the things is pissing at the law school and get J8 by that. Like J8 is basically getting suspended by that. And by pissing at the law school, I don't mean like pissing in the bathroom at law school, it's just pissing on the law school, like wide open. And during freshman year, like well, when I got too drunk with my friends, we just like, I mean, like there's a law school and there's this really well like railing, and then there's a parking lot underneath, and then we just like walk on the railing and piss on the parking lot. It was pretty fun. And my friend was like taking a selfie the whole time. But yeah, but unfortunately we didn't get J8 by that, so like we didn't cross that item off the list. But like I would say that is one of the highlights I had at Cornell.
You know, I have to say, American unis and pissing on things has to come hand in hand, because that's exactly what they do in Harvard as well. They piss on statues and kiss them. So it seems like Ivies do have a love for human urine, I guess. But I suppose to end off the video on, I'm not sure whether you could beat that higher note, but on a more serious note, if you could go back in time and tell fresher you before you were going into your freshman year some advice to studying at Cornell and what life would be like, what would you tell yourself?
I would say speak more English in Hong Kong before arriving at Cornell, and I don't know, like be more social, to be honest, because in DBS I grew with like my friends for like 12 years or like 6, and I didn't really have to like step out of my social circle and like meet more people, so to say. But of course I met people at summer camps, but like I don't know, like because I feel like socially Americans are so much more ahead than like Hong Kongers, to be honest.
Yeah,
Because maybe it's because like American schools are so much bigger than usual. But I would say, yeah, like be more social, and yeah, I would, because yeah, like apart from that, I have no regrets during freshman year.
definitely. Thank you very much for sharing your insights. I have to say, it's always a privilege to talk to Max again. I mean, we really grew up together. He's probably, I would say, part of my closest friendship circle I have. And you know, it's always a really great privilege to have you on to this channel. Once again, if you're enjoying this video, make sure to like and subscribe and share it with your friends if you think they would find it helpful as well. As I've said previously, our goal at Logos Education is to provide affordable and accessible educational content to the world. So by liking and subscribing, you could help us in a completely free and accessible way. Now, furthermore, as I've said as well, if you're interested in getting into top universities, go check out our books, the UCAS Bible and the US College Guide. These guides contain motivational short stories, checklists, worksheets, and more, which has helped students like me, Max, and people like Warren who've got into universities like Harvard, Oxford, Columbia, Cornell. The list goes on and on and on. So make sure you go check it out. You could be found in the link below. Stay safe, my friends. See you soon. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. I'll see you next one.